We start this podcast with an intro from Judd. Go.
Hi, my name's Jordan. Have you been involved in some sort of workplace accident? If so, it probably was your fault. Most everything is in life. Because most things in life could be chalked up to being your fault.
Yeah, so
So
stop being a little bitch
yeah,
and get back to work to make me my money. What?
You know what I'm saying is the next time that you might be sort of like working on a building site and a forklift might run over your foot. Next time, just let it run over your head, because nobody likes you anyway.
No! Oh dear.
They used to do that in fucking Vietnam. They used to do that to the Viet Cong. They used to run over their heads with their tanks, with the tank tracks, and that's why they called them zipper heads.
They call them zipper heads.
Yeah, because it
Oh.
was like the zipper going up. You know how a zipper goes up, like
Yeah.
it was like that, but over their heads,
Well,
like with tank tracks.
I'm glad we've continued the tradition on this podcast of starting
Being
and
just
ending with the most
absolutely-
horrible thing we could ever think of. Oh, how are you doing? It's not been that long since I saw you this time, so there's not really
No,
much
it's
to
not.
report on, is there?
No. Are we? How are we structuring this? Are we doing the walk story first? You think? Or...
Well, you did just ruin my segue quite badly then.
I don't
It's not
care.
been that long since I saw you because it was only a couple of days ago we went on a walk.
Yeah.
And oh boy, was that walk interesting, Judd. That sounds so fake. It's like, oh, I bet it wasn't.
I usually am the first to be like, no, it fucking wasn't. What are you talking about? Just a walk, but that was a weird walk.
It was. Basically, what happened? I'll let you tell it. But what the whole point was, we're trying to sell these. Or Judd's trying to sell these Warhammer models, and I took a bunch of pictures of them for him with my nice camera.
Which, by the way, if you want to know how that's doing, 3 of the items have sold, and I think I made £100 so far. So it's like 2 of the smaller tanks from the big one, and I think I've made about £100
Could
off
you
of
move the
just
mic
them, so.
closer to your mouth while you're speaking about this stuff I don't
Yes.
really care about?
Yes. So, and I believe I overdue 10% because you took the pictures. So
Yeah. So
that'll be a fresh,
And then you
that'll
need
be
to
a
turn it
crisp
down.
£10 note that you'll be getting. There you go.
nice, crisp £10 note. That'll pay for the beer that I just bought for this podcast.
Nice.
It won't pay the food that I'll buy during this podcast either, though, because I normally do that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was dropping some models off at Judd's, and there's quite a bit of fields and things. Kind of, not. I suppose not a massive amount of fields, but there's some fields near where Judd lives, and I was thinking, well, I've got to drop these models off, but I need to do some exercise or something today. And so I was like, Judd, I bet this is the way we interact. We don't ask each other if things are going to happen. We just tell each other. So I rang him up and went, right, Judd, I'm dropping these models off, and then we're going for a walk.
Yeah.
And then you're like, right, okay. Ghost Hand says condones war crimes. I mean, ooh, yikes.
We were just
accidentally
talking about.
do that. No, we don't really. It's all jokes. So you have to say it's jokes, because otherwise you get cancelled. Anyway, so we were going for this walk, and we walked down this like path. It's not very far from Judd's house to get to start getting to fields.
Yeah.
There's not much kind of like urban area before you get to them.
It was actually perfect for you saying that you wanted to go on that walk, because I had the house to myself recently, and I might have taken a little bit of the devil's lettuce, and I might have just had like a joint's worth left. So it's like, okay, I don't want this to be in the house. My grandparents still be in the house, even though I knew like I had it in like an airtight sealed bag, and there was like absolutely no way. I was just like, I'd just rather have this out of the house. So
Because Judd's a pussy and he daren't ask his grandparents to smoke a doobie with him. And I refuse to
I
call
would-
it anything
I'd love
other than
to.
smoking a doobie.
I'd love to I'd love to do that. I'd love to share that experience with them. But I know for a fact they both grew up in the era where it was like, if you smoke the marijuana leaf once, you will murder your family with an axe.
Did they? When were they born? Because I know my
40
grandma.
something, I think, or 50 something.
So they might have been in their late teens, early 20s during the 60s, which was notorious for like,
No,
free love and that.
I asked my nan because my nan was actually a flower girl. She was proper into like all the fucking hippie stuff. My nan, and I was like, I said to her, I'm surprised with your attitude towards weed because of the sort of social groups you were around. And she said all of my friends smoked weed, but I just hated it. She said I tried it once and I absolutely hated
This
it.
is
And
me.
a
I
lot
am
of-
your nanan.
Yeah,
to
a
be
lot
honest,
of
I haven't
people-
even tried it once, but like,
a lot, yeah. A lot of people do, and it's totally okay. I understand why you won't want to
well,
to have
personally,
it.
I think it's completely reasonable to think that it's shit. To me, it's kind of like smoking in that I fully believe it should be legal, but I fully believe no one should ever want to do it, and it's very stupid.
I prefer it to drinking. I think it's better than drinking. I'd rather do that than drink.
There's a lot more disadvantages to it. There's a lot of stoner culture that likes to condone it too. I'm not going to get in a debate about it. If you want to argue with us and tell us how stupid we are, follow at Tweets Badly and tell us how dumb we are. Because, fuck it. Who cares? Or just say it in chat at twitch.tv/streamsbadly. Because big announcement, everyone. We have officially rebranded to Streams Badly. We've been Games Badly for fucking like 82 episodes of this podcast, but now I've switched everything to Streams Badly, mostly because we started off doing games a lot, a few times a week actually, but then we got big boys, realised that most things are badly, including games, and now we don't play many games. So yeah, basically switch to Streams Badly because we mostly do the podcast. Although we'll still play games, but anyway, many tangents. Basically, summary is we're now Streams Badly, not Games Badly. The Devil's lettuce is bad, but not as many people think it is. And also, we went for a walk. Continue.
Yes. Yeah. No. The only reason I brought that up is because I wanted that out the house, and also it sort of made everything that we experienced like quite a bit more harrowing. And do you want to
explain? Agrees that 100% of people are dumb. You guys are fine. We are in that 100%, don't get me wrong. We are also badly. Yeah. Don't worry, we are just as terrible as everyone else.
Do you want to talk about why it was a harrowing experience, Jake? Why you fucking came away?
Look,
probably
I'm always
shaking.
blabbing on this podcast. I'll just amend your terrible doped up memory.
So what I can remember from my disgusting drug-addled mind, was that we went on a walk, and at some point during this walk, we got onto the topic of sort of like horror games and cool ideas for that, because we were talking about I think I might have brought up Resident Evil, and then we were talking about sort of horror games, and then we went on a tangent from that about like how to make a sort of cool horror game.
And that was because of the kind of time of day we were out. It was kind of like just after like evening meal time, kind of. It wasn't sunset, but like in an hour or so, it would be close to getting. It'd be nearly sunset time in an hour or so. That kind of lull, kind of just past golden hour, I would say, like only just past type of thing.
Yeah.
The
sun was setting, but it wasn't completely set. It was like still fairly.
Yeah, it was a lot up still. You still had an hour or so at least, but and that sort of time frame is just. There's a different, very unique level of eerie to it in the right scenario.
Especially when you're sort of as isolated as me and Jake were, because we went walking near my house, which there's a lot of sort of like open fields, and there was just sort of this like vast stretch of land, and for a while it was just me and Jake. So it especially sort of there was this sort of like field you go over where there's like a lot of tall grass. And we were just saying shit like, it'd be cool if like in a horror game in sort of like this sort of time and setting, and say like if it was like how subtle it'd be. So just little things where like if you'd sort of like look into the distance, you think you could maybe see like a guy in the distance. Sort of like really subtle horror.
Yeah, stuff that'd be a lot more real, a lot more kind of not supernatural, and kind of at a time that's kind of. It's not completely safe, because then it becomes unrealistic in the danger. So say it was the middle of the day and you were in an office. that becomes a bit like almost unrealistic with horror. Whereas that, it's only just creeping into a time where you could see some scary, realistic stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like that setting. But we were talking about that, and then as we were walking round, Judd continues story.
But at this point, this
Sorry,
joint
I've got to interrupt
earlier-
again. That was like a choose your own adventure book. And then at this point, turn to page 138 if you want Judd to continue the story. Turn to page 74 if you want Jake to continue the story.
You always want me to continue these stories.
We turned to page
138.
138.
Yeah. So at this point, essentially, that joint that I just had was just sort of kicking in, and
Allegedly.
So we were just having all of these talks about this fucking video game, and we got to this sort of like crossroads bit in the middle of this field, and so it's like you could either keep going straight on, right,
too
or
far,
left.
You missed something. I knew this.
Oh yeah, I missed it. Yeah, I missed the. Do you want to talk about that? Then I'll talk about the next thing.
Okay, yeah. So the first thing we came across, we walked down these fields, walk over a little bridge. Basically get kind of one field away from the houses.
Yeah.
So get just to the point where you're not in suburbia anymore. You know, just past the point of non-kind of suburban area. Yeah. And as soon as we leave suburbia, immediately we look to our left and there's this weird, like, almost like homemade bench area with like a painted, really badly kind of carved out version of Mickey and Minnie Mouse sat on one of the benches.
Like quite hauntingly, like just not right.
For
just
the video version of the podcast, I will show an image of this. Obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of the other good podcast streaming platforms, including Anchor, the sponsor of this podcast, you'll not be able to see any of that. But if you are watching on youtube.com/streamsbadly or live on twitch.tv/streamsbadly, those are all the places you can get the podcast. Good segue, I know, I'm proud of myself. Then you'll be able to see it. So I'm putting a pickup of Judd sat on this bench now, and they're like, yeah. You even look confused.
You gotta imagine that this had just like started kicking in. We'd just been chatting about this, and then we walked around the corner, and there's these fucking horrific effigies of fucking Mickey and Minnie Mouse up.
They're not like horrific. Like they were like they weren't like covered in scars and blood or something. They weren't meant to look horror. They were meant to be like a nice children's thing. But you know when something's done really shitty and it looks a bit uncanny valley, it was kind of like that. But it wasn't. I suppose it depends what your definition of a large area is, but it weren't a particularly large area of benches. It was kind of how many benches did they fit there? There was kind of, I think there was
probably about 6, maybe like 8. I would say
there was maybe about 8 with maybe like 1.5 meters space between each bench.
Yeah,
and they were all different and obviously handmade and put together.
Somebody had obviously gone out of the way to do a nice thing, because we should we tell them the reason why that was there now?
Not yet. I think we should do it in order of how we experienced everything.
That's fair then.
But it was weird because
we'll move on then. We'll get back to it.
It is a weird place to have something like that. It was like it was past a farm already. It was already past one farm away from suburbia. So it was just a little bit weird. It was kind of like the feeling when we saw it was like, well, this is nice, I guess. It was kind of like, I think this is nice. It could be creepy, but I think it's nice. And I think if it was done very well, like if it was like, you know, like bought benches like you might see in a pub's beer garden. I think it would just be like, oh, there's just a little seating area here.
We would have immediately been like, oh, look at this thing that's been set up for like, you know, while shit's going on.
But because it was kind of like handmade and a bit weird. Ghost Hand, who I'm guessing can see this feels like the start of a bad creepypasta.
It does. It's like fucking Mickey Mouse.exe.
You're not
and then
wrong.
we found a secret hidden episode of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse under the bench, and Mickey Mouse's eyes were hyper realistic, and he went, "I choose you."
So bear in mind, we were chatting about horror games, and because of this time of day, and thinking of, and literally saying about just little things that were that level of weird. That's kind of like, I think this is fine. Type of. That's the reaction that you'd have to take. I think that's fine. Type of thing, because the fact that you have to like think that's fine and not automatically just know is the level of creep that I think is so good for a horror. And we immediately went round a corner and saw an area that was exactly like that.
Yeah.
Oh, turn to page 158 if you want to continue. Yeah,
okay. So after this little sort of freak show of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that we had, we kept going on, and we went across the sort of tall grass area I was talking about earlier. And as we continued walking down this sort of field, we got to another crossroads where it was so you could go straight on to your right or to your left, and we just thought, fuck it, we'll just go to the left.
Yeah,
we'll just
we
see
were
what's
trying
down
to
that
aim
way.
for most kind of out the way. We didn't want to go into like a town or something, really.
We wanted to we kind of wanted to get lost a bit, I think, didn't we? We kind of wanted to sort of just get lost a bit in.
Yeah, because it was the type of place that even if you were like going into some woods or a bunch of fields or whatever, you're gonna have signal. It's not like out in mountains or something like that. So we'd just Google Maps as way home, so that we kind of wanted to get lost in quotation marks, where we like didn't know quite where we were and had to Google Maps back a bit, something like that.
Yeah,
we didn't end up having to do that, but anyway.
So we went to the left, and we're walking up this little sort of hill thing. And it was at this point that we started talking more about like what other horror games do, and we were talking about sort of like Resident Evil had just come out, and we were talking about one of my favorite fucking horror franchises ever, Silent Hill. And as we were walking forward, we came across what kind of looked like a little bit of sort of like almost like a scrapyard kind of thing. There was like
maybe something like you'd seen Postal 2, actually.
Yeah, something that you'd come across as like an environment in Postal 2. And as we were walking up, there was like this container thing, and I couldn't see what else was sort of around this corner.
We weren't even really thinking about it, were we? Because we were deep in conversation.
We were just talking, and we see this massive fucking dog just slowly walk around the side of the corner and stare at us both. and literally, I think you saw it first and you went, "Oh, Judd." And we both stopped and looked at this massive fucking dog. It was chained up. It had like a chain round its neck. And it just stared at us. It didn't bark or anything. It just looked at us. He just looked at this dog and then turned around and just walked back.
Yeah, we literally can't go that way.
Yeah, we just went, oh, okay. I'm sure I actually went to the dog. I'm sure I went, sorry.
And it was because it were like I don't know. It were a bit like something out of the movie Creep, but a bit more kind of hillbilly type of thing. You know, sometimes you get like hillbilly communes in horror type of things. It was like that area. Bearing in mind that bench area is not like. It could be part of that as well, to be honest. Ghost Hand says there's nothing scarier that a dog doesn't bark back. There's nothing scarier than a dog that doesn't bark back. I mean, we didn't bark at the dog. Maybe we should have. Maybe that's where we went wrong.
Maybe we should have. No, I know what it means, because that dog has been fucking. That dog knows what's up. It knows what's good. It's fucking.
It knows. I don't need to bark at these fucking pussies.
Yeah. It was like if it wanted. I mean, it was chained up, so it couldn't have gone for us anyway. But it would have been like, I can fucking go for these pussies. Like, look at this fat little ginger one. He's not gonna fucking outrun me.
Here's a little question for you though, Judd.
Yeah.
Do you think we could have beaten that dog in a fight, both of us, like tag teaming on it? Two at once attacking that dog. It was quite, but it was German Shepherd. I'd say it was a normal sized German Shepherd.
Are you asking me if me and you could both beat the shit out of a dog? Is this what?
It's a big dog. It's a scary dog.
No, but I'm just saying the fucking concept of it is like, do you think we could beat the shit out of a dog?
Yeah, you know what? That is what I'm asking. I'm going to own it. The Hills Have Eyes style. I've never seen that. Shall I add it to my list? Is it?
You know what? It was very Hills of Eyes.
I'm adding it to my list.
It was very Hills. I've only seen clips of it, but it was incredibly Hills of Eyes sort of scenario. And so that was the first sort of weird thing that. Well, no, that was the second sort of like
Yeah.
actually scary thing, I suppose. What was the next thing?
We went.
I remember. I remember.
Well, I
what it
suppose
is.
we can tag team this. We went a bit further, so we essentially went in the exact opposite direction. We walked
Yeah.
all the way back.
We were like, right, we're gonna not go that way.
Yeah, we went all the way back to the crossroads, and if the way we went to the dog was, if you consider that left, we went right instead.
Yeah.
And it was, I think we decided that because it was kind of towards some trees. And I thought, yeah, this could be a bit of a forest. We could walk through a forest. It weren't much of a forest. It was a very small kind of crop of trees. But we kind of walked down. And again, I'm going to switch to a picture here to show you.
This one was actually really nice.
It was nice. And then that's kind of the point of why it was creepy. In that, if it was used right in a horror thing, it could be really creepy because it wasn't too dark. You know if it's too dark and say the flowers are like, there's a lot of flowers on the floor. I think they're all bluebells. There's a lot of bluebells on the floor, and the trees all had leaves still. In a horror game, you'd have a lot of trees. It might not have many leaves. It might be kind of darker leaves. The floor would be like kind of more murky and not kind of covered in blue and things like that.
Yeah,
Very nice area because it was all
vibrant.
Yeah, and it was fairly vibrant in that. And if you do that right, kind of give it a bit of an orange hue, make it kind of just past golden hour, I would argue that's more creepy, and that's kind of what we're getting here. This picture that is on screen, if you're in the video version, doesn't really do it justice. It actually just looks very nice, honestly. But we thought, yeah, let's go in there, because that could, it's fitting this kind of horror game narrative thing that we're enjoying talking about. And we went in, and it was quite obviously just a bit of trees that happened to be there. Ghost Hand says it's less scary and more dread that can be taken out of environments like this. Potentially, yeah. I think it's a weird sort of term. It's somewhere between. I like the term dread because I would say it's somewhere between dread and creep, like somewhere between those two feelings. And we went in here, and it was just kind of nice, to be honest. And it were obviously mostly used by people who either like dirt bike or whatever, or like maybe little motorbikes or whatever. There was little like dirt hills and bits to go on. So it was obviously that, but there was little signs that were kind of a bit horror game inspirational in that there was like some kind of pallets nailed to trees, which were obviously little and painted with either red or green or whatever. They were obviously little markers for the tracks, but it were kind of done so janky that it looked a bit kind of, again, hillbilly, kind of like those benches, a bit like a rusty shipping container. It were a bit jankily done.
It looked like it was sort of like it was like a clue for an overarching puzzle in like a Resident Evil game. That's what it reminded me of. I was like, right, now we have to find like the fucking the rubies that match the colour of the fucking signs on the trees, and that'll open a door. It was like something like that shit.
And we did see a kind of little sheltery bit thing made out of sticks. Which again will just be people hanging out after the BMX or whatever, like later at night. And also a little area that had obviously been used for a fire, and there was plenty of burnt sticks around of it and all that. But the bit that kind of reinforced horror a bit was in the middle of this fire was an axe handle, like a axe, handheld one-handed axe handle, where obviously, and the top of it was nowhere near there, but this hand axe handle hadn't just been put in the fire and like used as wood. It was not burnt at all, but it was in the middle of where the burnt patch was. It
was completely just untouched by what was around it. It was weird.
Yeah, again, not too creepy and not too weird, but like,
we started to wonder. It's like, right, so where's the head of this fucking axe?
Yeah, it's just something that make you think, oh, there's no head to that axe. It's not been used as wood. That's like just kind of, it just makes you think. It don't make you think of too scary things, but anything that's making you think is just gonna add up to that creep dread mixture type of thing. And we were saying like that's the level of thing that Hereditary, the horror movie Hereditary, does brilliantly, because it's just like, well, why is that there then? That's just a little bit weird, isn't it? You know,
It's just a
it's
bit.
like I'm not too threatened, but like, you know, that's just. It's like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that, and then next we moved on. Kept going, and we kind of moved towards where my new house is gonna be.
Yeah. Jake's buying a place that's not too far from where I live, so we went to go have a look at that, didn't we?
Yeah, and do you remember this is potentially the creepiest thing we saw. The next creepiest.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
We did go around the corner and sort of see what looks like it could be a bit like a gypsy-ish type of kind of, creepy hillbilly type of thing. But because I was thinking, you know what, fuck it, I want to just be a bit brave and cocky here and go around and look at it. When I did go around, it was just like a horse stables thing. It weren't actually very creepy once we'd gone around the corner. But we walked up the road a little bit and turn to page 212 for just continue.
So as we were just sort of walking down this sort of like little next to this sort of like stables area, I didn't even notice it at first because I was too busy. We're talking about something else, and Jake goes, well, okay, if we're talking about horror games, then that fits in. And I didn't know what it was like talking about, and I looked at where he was looking, and somebody had taken like a baby doll sort of thing, or I don't know if it's like a baby, but it was like a little sort of doll or something, and it was stripped naked, and it was like chained to like a tree, like with big chains.
Yeah,
it was like some sort of weird effigy. I think that's what freaked me out the most. It was like, why is the chain so big? You could have done that with like a bit of rope. Why have you got like big heavy sets like metal chains? What did it do? What did it do that it has to be contained in such a way?
Yeah, and it's like, to be honest, not much of what we'd seen walking around really warranted this. You know, sometimes, like, truckers or whatever, they'll strap... It's normally not like a baby doll, that's weirder, but, like, they'll strap something to the front of their truck, won't they?
Yeah.
I feel like whoever did it was probably going for something like that, but... It didn't hit the mark. It came across more as like creepy.
It just came across as sinister, and it did feel like the hills have eyes kind of thing, where it was like almost like a warning, like don't come here. We like to chain baby dolls up to trees.
Yeah, so that one was a weird one. We ended up. There's one that we've not got footage of that. It's not actually very creepy, but we wandered around this kind of estate that I'm going to be moving to, and hold on, Ghostan says, and then we walk into a cult during a human effigy burning.
Well, what the fuck do you think the random pile of like burnt wood was and the axe handle?
Could
like
be.
that.
Yeah. So we kind of walked around my estate. I showed Judd the house. The outside of my house, and he was like,
we couldn't go in because
there
was still people living in it, so it would have been a bit weird if we would have just walked in and here's a living room.
Yeah, so it weren't really like, what else am I going to do? I go, that's the house, that's where it is.
Yeah.
So there's like a trail near my house, which is one of the reasons we like it. It's very easy to get on this like nice walking trail. We walked down there, and I heard a noise, and I'm at this point, obviously, we're both quite jumpy.
Yeah, because we just spent the whole day sort of like talking about these fucking horror game stuff, and I was quite a bit like stoned, so I was getting in my head as well about it. So
we knew we were being dumb by being jumpy, but. I feel like as well, I could have stopped myself being as jumpy, but it was kind of fun. I was enjoying it. It was almost like playing a bit of a horror game, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it was what we heard was this. It was like a weird noise. I didn't know what it was, and then I said to you, what's that noise? And your explanation, bear in mind how stupid Judd is, was that it's a donkey. It's a donkey. They've got donkey farms near here. They haven't got donkey. That's not even.
I never said they've got donkey farms around here. You retard.
No, you 100% said that there's a farm with. You at least said there's a farm with a donkey on. But how you phrased it was, there's a donkey farm.
I never said donkey farm.
That's what you said.
I said they keep donkeys around here.
Oh right,
So
okay, that could be true. That could be
that
right.
so that's what I said. I said they keep donkeys around here, and I say that because there's literally I don't know if this still is because I haven't heard it for a while. It probably is dead. But when growing up, there used to be a donkey right behind my house. Like this sort of like little farm right behind where I live, and that had a donkey on it, and you could hear it all the fucking time. So like when I heard this noise, I was like, oh, it's a donkey.
However, bear in mind we were literally at least a mile away from that at this point. But
yeah, so I just thought, oh, it's enough that somebody else has got a donkey.
Not
then.
too unreasonable, okay? But
Yeah.
we kind of walked down the path and realised this donkey was right next to us, like really close. And it also wasn't a donkey, because when we got close, we realised, no, that's a goat. Or maybe a sheep, but probably a goat.
Probably a goat.
But where it was, behind... So, this trail that we were walking along was, like, almost right behind my house. It was, well, I guess it was kind of like one road away, one street away, very close.
Yeah.
So it was basically just in another estate. And this estate is like, actually kind of bigger and nice. Well, I say nice, it's just got bigger houses in it.
Yeah.
And we could hear it. We could hear this fucking goat. Like, really, really close. It weren't... And I knew there was farms on the other side of the estate because we'd walked through them. But there was like a full housing estate between us and that farm. There was no way we would be hearing a goat that close up. So it's still a mystery to me. And it's not particularly creepy, this one, but it's like... I swear to God, one of these big rich houses is keeping a goat captive in their garden. It's like, it was so, I honestly feel like I might want to investigate that just because, like, that was weird though, wasn't it? Like, why would they have a goat there? This is not like a housing estate that would keep a goat. They wouldn't have a garden big enough for a goat to be kept.
It was almost like suburbia. It was like, it'd be like seeing just a goat in just like an American sort of suburban sort of estate. That's what it was like.
If they do have a goat, it's not got enough room to roam about.
Yeah, it's like not a good place to be keeping one. And what are you doing with it? Are you just milking it? Are you just getting goat's milk from it?
But again, I know it's not actually technically that creepy, but little things like that, it makes your entire environment weird and just makes you more on edge, you know? and it's like, because it's like we're saying, why would there be a goat there? There's like no reason to be a goat there. So it's like, there's small stuff like that. It's like, you know when someone speaks a bit off? You know if I talked like this and told you about the goat?
So like fucking James Kirk then from Star Trek, yeah.
No, he's too energetic. But you know, if I spoke like that,
James Kirk,
people would be like, he just speaks a bit weird, you know? He's fine. Suppose he just speaks a bit weird, and that, again, that's what Hereditary does. Hereditary does really, really well. Brilliant movie. So there was that one, and then I'm gonna steal you. I know we were taking turns on this, Judd, but I this one I found the weirdest.
This was fucking weird. This one, I actually didn't like this one. It was at this point where I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go home now. Actually, I no longer feel secure.
So on the way back, we were just coming the way we came. And we went past where the doll was, went further down the path, and then there was kind of two choices of paths. So the way we came near those woods, and then there was like another long kind of path where you couldn't see the end of it. It kind of went around a corner a bit that looks like it might be more direct to where Judd lived. So I thought, well, we'll just try down here. If it don't go anywhere where we need, we can come back. And we did go down there. Bit of backstory though. When we were walking past the woods, between the woods and the doll, there was like a house a bit in the distance playing music. But when it started playing music, it made us jump a little bit because again, we were on edge a little bit. So as soon as we heard it, we were like, what the fuck was that? And then we realised it was just normal music. And I was like, oh, just music.
It wasn't even like weird music either. It's not like they were playing like, I don't know, they weren't playing like Minnie the Moocher by Cab Calloway, and it was like playing on like an old record player like off in the distance. It was like was it just like chart music or like, you know, something popular?
But
so
this little path we ended up taking on the way back led to the house that was playing that music, and we only realised that when we got there. That would have been fine if it had only led to a house. But the thing is, it didn't. It didn't just lead to a house there, a nice house.
No.
This was quite a big house, set back kind of into a field a bit more than the kind of suburban houses we'd walked past. And it had, I kid you not, what, like 100 cars? Maybe?
It was. Well, no, I wouldn't say 100, but I'd say like 40. I'd say there was like a graveyard.
There was more than 40.
More
there
than
was
40.
a lot of cars, and I'm going to show it on. Screen now. At this point, it was like Outlast, because I was walking around just recording this shit. Because I'm like, if I die, somebody needs to fucking see this. Yeah, they were parked everywhere. Judd's camera work is not great on the clip that you'll see on the video version. But you can see like loads of cars, and at one point you do get my body on it for reference, for like kind of the distance the cars go back.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, so we got to these cars, and I saw on the right.
I was thinking of doing a good job shooting here. By the way, I was thinking I'm gonna get fucking murdered by like an axe guy, and I need some sort of evidence here.
Well, when we got around this, oh my god, I've just noticed something on this clip.
What? No, don't say something like there's somebody stood watching us in the window.
No, it's not that creepy. One of the cars, the first car we see when we go around the corner, like has like half a wheel through the back window.
What the fuck? This place was weird. This place was actually scary, though.
It was weird. And when we got around the corner, I saw like cars parked not where you'd expect them. Like, I'll keep the video clip looping, but like not where you'd expect them, kind of like on bits of grass. And I'm thinking, oh, these guys not got an actual drive or a garage. And then you get a bit further around and it's like, oh, there's like 6 cars here. And then a slightly bit more further I'm like, no, there's about 100 cars here. What the fuck? And to be honest, looking at this clip, they don't look particularly abandoned or anything. They don't look they all look like not necessarily new, like they'd been parked there very recently, but like they're not covered in moss or whatever. They're not like you know, things like that. And it was just a weird amount of cars, too many cars. And so I told my mum, I was telling my mum this story, and my mum said, "Oh well, someone's obviously having a party then." And I was like, "No, many more cars than that.
It wasn't like a party thing. Yeah." Like if all of those were there for a party, they would have been like pouring out onto the streets, and you could have heard them from like miles, because there would have literally been hundreds of people at this fucking party if it was a party. So it just wasn't. It just wasn't.
It weren't a party. And there was like a trailer and a caravan amongst these, just one of them, but it wasn't like next to a big house. It was just weird. I'm gonna keep this looping for now, but yeah, I don't know. At this point, I know we'd seen a doll chained to a tree, but I seriously think this was the weirdest bit.
Yeah, because it was like that doll chained to a tree could have been just some kids being like, let's just do it. Because when I was younger, when I was just like leaving high school, like the last day of high school, I found this fucking like head of like a baby doll, and it had looked like it had been in a fire. Like half of it was like burnt, and like the eye in it had like bubbled and popped and stuff, and it looked really fucked. And
weird to just find anyway.
I picked that up off the side, and me mate Sam, not the Sam that you know, but a different one from high school, was there, and I picked it up and I looked at it and went, what the fuck are you, why are you picking that up? Why are you looking at that? And I said to him, I'm gonna stick it in my locker when I clean my locker out, and the next person who gets my locker is just gonna have this awful fucking baby head in it.
And I did. Brilliant, actually.
So somebody got that, but yeah, so kids do that. So it was like, you know, that could have been a kid. So that wasn't so scary, but that was just like, what the fuck is happening here? What's happening?
Or again, it could be like I said, with a trucker type deal. People do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So but these cars, it was just weird, because it almost felt like it could be like the source of weirdos.
Yeah.
In a way. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for the weird walk, to be honest. We talked about stuff a bit more on the way back, but that was kind of the creepy walk. It's kept us going a long time, actually. I didn't think we'd talk about this creepy walk the whole way.
No,
because we talked about it on the way back.
We have an explanation for the little park thing and the benches, don't we? We discovered that on the way back. I had actually heard about this, but I didn't realise that's where it was, and I'd completely forgot about it at the time. But essentially, what had happened is during lockdown, so towards sort of the end of it, when just before things could be like inside again, these farmers sort of like down there had made like a little pop-up bar thing, so you could go there and get drinks and stuff, and that sort of like little park bit was just so your kids could have like a little sort of run around and you could have somewhere to sit down.
It weren't much of a park, really, but
yeah, actually, it is really nice what they've done.
It's where everyone would have been sat, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like you could only sit outside, so it's...
Yeah, so it was really nice, but just to stumble across was... it was quite fucking weird.
Well, Judd, I've... believe it or not, the weird car area, I've got an explanation for that as well. I'm just loading up Google Maps again, because... when I think I was looking on my, because I set my fitness watch going.
Yeah.
For to track my calories, whatever. I guess fitness watch, and it shows some kind of landmarks, businesses, things like that on it sometimes on your map when you look at it after. And apparently, that house with all those cars is a business. I'm not going to say actually the full name of the business because that kind of shows. Yeah, that's very near where my new house is going to be, so I'm not going to say. Looking on I'm going to send you a link to like a street view, in a second. That should take you directly to the street view, and it shows where we saw all those cars, except there's not as many cars. And it's like a vehicle, it's something vehicle, like a vehicle deliveries place. I think it must be almost like an impound, I guess. Yeah. Like a private impound business. So it was that, basically. Nothing crazy. All right. But it's still weird that it would be at someone's house, you know?
Yeah, because that was just straight up like a guy's... that was just straight up somebody's gaff. Somebody were living in there.
There was no business signs. There was a gate that on the way out we saw did say private land, but it was very small, the private
It was
sign.
An incredibly small sign. Like, there was one sign, and it was really small. It was almost like somebody was hoping you'd accidentally wander in.
Yeah.
It was just weird.
Anyway, creepy walk. There you go. I do actually love stories like that. And I have to say, I went on the weekend before, the Saturday before we did that, so like 2 days before we did that creepy walk, I went on a 12-mile hike, I suppose. A hike. I guess you would say a hike and a walk.
Awful.
Which had beautiful, amazing scenery. I've been going on quite regular hikes with my friend, and we've been walking at least 6 miles per hike. Went on this massive 12-mile hike and saw a bunch of scenery. We've done loads. We must have done 50 miles at this point with how many hikes we've done, and it's all just beautiful scenery. We've seen some dead sheep and lambs. I saw a dead ferret at one point, to be fair. But, beautiful scenery, amazing. I walk a mile with Judd, and all of that shit happens. So that's the difference between, a nice regular walk and a walk with Judd. But
I think I was saying this to my friends. I was like showing them. I was sending stuff to them because I was like, well, if I get fucking axe murdered in the woods, I want someone to be like quite quickly on it.
Yeah.
So I was like sending them stuff, and they were like, where the fuck is this place? Because there were just so many different sort of varying like environments, and I was like, this is literally outside my house. And I said to him, I think what happens is I think sort of if I stay in an area too long, sort of the world sort of warps and twists, like I'm some sort of like weird entity that's shaping the world around me. So,
it is weird. You just have weird shit happen to you, basically.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So
I do have quite weird shit happen to me.
I've got more to tell you, Judd.
Okay.
I've got another little story that might be interesting. In our town, because there's a bit more to say. In England, lockdown restrictions have been easing off. You know, it's looking like there's a light at the end of the tunnel at this point, isn't there? Currently, as of recording this, you can now sit inside a restaurant or pub or whatever with a certain amount of people.
I'm allowed to go into my nerd shop and play my nerd games like Warhammer and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm allowed to do that again.
Yep.
So.
Non-essential retail is allowed to go inside. This is quite recent because not long before that, we record these on a Wednesday, and it's the Monday before that that restriction changed. So before that, it was that pubs were open. They'd opened again, but only outside, only beer gardens, things like that.
You can only drink outside, yeah.
So there's been this big trend of kind of pubs and things making massive beer gardens with like huge TP gazebos, which basically makes the place inside. It's just that technically glassed as outside because it's not real walls.
Yeah.
It's
just ridiculous when you think about it, but whatever.
It is, but what it has lent towards is actually a really nice area in the town that we live in. And the town we live in is quite grotty. It wouldn't normally get things like that. It wouldn't normally get these big teepee things, but because that's the only place you can drink, someone's dared to make one and have one there. Because they know that people are desperate to go out for a drink. And these places with these big teepees, they're quite kind of fashionable, and so things kind of cost a bit more as well, which people in our town hate. They're used to paying about less than £3 for a pint. Alexa, how much is 3 Great British pounds in US dollars?
There you go.
Did we get that? £3 is about $4.26. So they're used to paying less than that. They're probably used to paying about $4 a pint, put it that way, a pint of beer. So, but in this place, it's nearly £5 a pint, which for where we live, that's too much.
He's ludicrous. If I went into my granddad now and I told him how much it was for a pint there, he'd go, "Oh, much!" That's what he'd say.
Well,
and that's
it's
what most people around here say.
£18 for a bottle of wine. Bear in mind, even now, at a shop, you can quite easily get a bottle of wine for 5-6 quid. You know, that's a pound for anyone who doesn't know. Quid is pound. So, I went to this TP place that quite fancy. It's like what you'd see in a more built-up city than where we live.
But like a Leeds or something like that.
Yeah, but there was a lad playing live music, because you can outdoors as long as everyone's sat down.
That actually might have been my cousin, you know. That might have been my cousin Shane, because then...
No, it weren't Shane. I know Shane.
We're not Shane. Okay, fair enough then. Because I know he was performing at one of them recently.
So there was this lad playing that. It was good. He played some big uns like Wonderwall, 500 miles. People started standing up and having a dance, and literally in the middle of the song he had to stop and go, I can't, I'm legally not allowed to keep playing if you stood up. Just sit down, I'll carry on.
Oh, God.
And it's like, I was thinking, but you could just... Stop being a little bitch, though, couldn't you?
You could, yeah. Yeah, absolutely,
He weren't too bad. He were all right. You could tell he didn't want to be that guy, but, like...
Yeah.
He were all right. And most of the time, people weren't really listening to him anyway. It were only for the big songs that people got excited. Anyway, the framing of that was it were quite a fun night, and my girlfriend ordered a glass of wine, and they accidentally gave us a bottle of wine. For the same price.
Nice!
So we got, instead of having to pay £18 for this bottle of wine, we only paid... actual supermarket price of £4.75.
Awesome.
And I drunk like half the wine with it. I don't like wine, but
But it was wine, and it was essentially free for you. So.
And if she'd have drunk any more of it, she'd have been absolutely fucked. She got very drunk at this point. They have like Portaloo toilets at this place, and I'm hoping it'll stay there, even though everyone can go inside now, because it's a pretty cool place. They have pizzas and that there. You can get
I know where you're talking about. I've been.
I know you went before me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Mm.
So I had a little sit in there at one point, and it is nice. Yeah, I hadn't tried any of the pizzas from there because I went with like all my mates. So the thing is that we were gonna meet there, but we couldn't fucking do anything there because there were so many people in. So
Yeah.
I managed to like show up and like get a spot, but they couldn't get in, so we just went somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it will have died down a bit now, obviously, because people can go inside, and understandably so. But yeah, so my review of the pizzas are that they're not actually probably really worth it unless you're drunk and you want a pizza and you don't have to move somewhere else for a pizza. They are good. It's not like takeaway pizza. It's better than that. It's like
It's like it was like stone oven baked pizza,
Yeah.
weren't it?
Yeah, and it's not too pricey, but like I know literally like 3 to 5 minutes walk a restaurant that does the same type of thing better for the same price and quite a bit better. So it weren't actually worth it, but like they were all right. So I'd gone to the Portaloo toilet, and earlier on, there's two. It's like 4 toilets in kind of all connected to each other. It's hard to describe. 2 of which were men's, 2 were women's, and there was a lot of weird stuff happening around these toilets. Quite funny. I was queuing up for the men's toilets, and at one point, 2 women walked out of the men's toilets.
Oh, nice.
Two women just walked out, looking a little bit guilty. Out is how I would put it. Actually, they could have just been guilty because they were in the men's, but
yeah.
they
No,
were both
no,
in there.
they were sucking. Oh, actually, do you think they were doing some
was
good
2
old
women.
scissoring?
There was no men in there. It's 2 women. But
Okay.
no. What I think was they just didn't want to. They couldn't be asked to queue for the women's, and women just go into the toilet together anyway. A lot of the time, don't they? Having said that, they must have been very lazy to not want to queue for the women's because the queue was never bigger than like 3 people on each side. So anyway, I think that's what happened.
Maybe they just didn't realize. Maybe they just didn't realize that.
Maybe that could be the case.
And they looked guilty because they just murdered a child by accident.
They'd just
That's my theory.
they'd just done a home job. DIY
They just
abortion.
murdered it. They
What?
just.
Oh,
They just.
God, that's
that's
horrible.
nasty,
I'm
Jay.
playing the thing for that.
I was gonna say that they'd murdered a child and they'd tied her to a tree with a big fucking chain.
I don't know how they would manage that in a Portaloo. I know what you're referencing, but my autism brain knows that doesn't make sense. So
Yeah,
that one's
fair
not
enough.
a joke. I feel like every podcast, if I make an autism joke about myself, I have to remind people that one's not a joke. Like I that's genuinely me. Like there's anyway, continuing on with these toilet stories. When I got in a toilet, this isn't too funny, but I heard this woman go, and. Well, meow.
What the fuck?
And she was just like, I don't know, saying meow a lot. And it's because it's a Portaloo.
Saying meow. Yeah.
So I imagine I'm pissing into the toilet and facing one direction, and if I heard sound from right in front of me, that would be the other men's toilet.
Yeah.
If I heard it diagonally to the left, that'd be a ladies, and if I heard it immediately to the left, that'd be another ladies. I heard it immediately to the left, and she was just saying meow, meow.
What? Oh, I feel like I'd have to say something. I feel like I'd have to like just bang on the portal and just go, "Shut the fuck up!"
No, it was funny. I was just laughing. And she was just drunk and saying meow, and they were like that. Have you never seen? It's potentially my favourite video on the internet ever.
Oh,
of
it's
that old man just meowing at the egg.
I've seen it. Yeah, he just like looks. He does it quite aggressively, doesn't he? There's an egg in front of him at this bar, and he just like leans in and goes, "Meow."
Old man meow.
Meow. It's
Meows
literally
at
called.
egg.
Oh, yeah, it's literally called old man meows
Let's
at
bring
egg.
that up real quick before I continue the story.
Meow!
That's the whole thing. There you go. You're only getting it once. So yeah, she was meowing a lot. But the meat and taters of the story is coming up right after this piss.
Oh, great. What do I talk about? What do I talk about? I don't know. For fuck's sake, right? Okay. What has been going off in my life? I fucking we've been going on sort of like walks on breaks at dinner time at work, and it's just weird, sort of like because I come from sort of like a rough, a kind of rough area, and it's just sort of like weird to sort of like to see the difference in people and sort of what's around, and especially I feel like I've talked about this before, but like especially like the homeless, because the homeless around our end are they're either sort of like whacked out their head on spice and they're passed out or something, and they're always bugging you for change and stuff. And in where I am now, Leeds, there is still some of that, but I find that the homeless people in Leeds are a lot more sort of like genuine, because you'll see me and my friend. So me and my friend saw this guy just walking past, and he didn't bug us for money or anything, but he was like quite obviously in shit clothes, like he was wearing boots that were like falling off of his feet and stuff. And that's how you could tell, like,
throw a shoe at it, damn cat. I wasn't here for the story. I don't know if that's relevant, but
no, that wasn't relevant. I think that was relevant to your meowing.
Okay.
I was just saying how like I've been in Leeds and sort of like it's a different class of homeless people.
You like to tell your homeless person reviews. Maybe you should start a channel and do homeless person reviews.
I think you can tell the sort of the quality of a city by its homeless population.
You're not wrong.
It's like in York, when I went to York. If we had a homeless guy talking to himself in where we live, he'd be screaming at himself, and he'd be throwing fucking punches at like thin air and stuff,
like
and shit like that. Yeah. This homeless guy that was talking to himself in York, he was sat on a bench, and he had his legs sort of crossed, and there was nobody next to him on the bench, and he was having a really nice chat with no one. Just it was just talking to the abyss.
Yes, I think the issues in Palestine are very serious. I think we should
it was saying shit like that, and I would just walk past and I'm like, fucking sick, absolutely. Like it was just
Stand is saying, lad, I'm from Brazil. I go for walks daily. It's like passing through 5 different countries in terms of quality, going from pristine neighborhoods to trash-filled slums. We should do a Brazil. If we ever go to Brazil, Judd, that sounds like fun.
We will be abducted like within 5 minutes.
Judd, know for a fact, if I'm with you, if we're both, if it was me on my own, yeah, but if we're both in Brazil going through the slum neighborhood bit that it's on about, they'd try and abduct us and take one look at you and just pat you on the shoulder and go, never mind, let's go for a drink, something like that.
Not this one.
Nah, let's just have a fun time with these lads, That's what happened. That's what happens to you. It doesn't happen to me because, continuing with my toilet stories at this kind of pub bar.
This little pop-up bar thing.
I was stood at next in line to go to the piss pot. Yeah. And this lad walks, comes to the queue next to me. I immediately notice who he is.
Okay.
And he doesn't quite immediately notice me. And then he kind of looks at me again, and I'm side-eyeing him, seeing that he's looking at me. And he goes, "Oh, are you Jacob?" And I'm like, my tone of voice was to him was, "Yep." Because... Nice. He was one of the cunts who was awful to me at school. And I always remember a song by a guy called Gaz Brookfield. Oh, what's it called, though? Gaz Brookfield... It's like a song about bullies, I don't like the word bully, because it sounds cringy. Be the Bigger Man, it's called. Go listen to that. That's a right tune. Be the Bigger Man from Gaz Brookfield. I'll get to your message in a sec, Ghost Hand. Yeah, I saw this guy. I remembered that song, and basically in this song from Gaz Brookfield, he says, "Fuck that bully. Don't just be nice to him now. He was a massive, horrible cunt to you for like 5 years. I know he was a kid, but like, make him realise how much of a knob he was, so that now he won't do it again." So I was very short with this lad. Like, he weren't the worst out of all the people to me, because there was like 20 different guys that that I could be really pissed off at. But and like a bunch of girls too. But basically he wasn't good though. so I was very shocked with him. So we're like, "Oh, are you Jacob?" I'm like, "Yep." And he said to me, "I shit you not. Oh, do you remember that time you chucked a science chair at me at school?" And I went, "Yeah." and
hilarious.
And I do remember that. And he said, "What did you do that for?" As if I were being silly back then. And I literally just went to him, no hesitation. "'Cause you were being a cunt."
Nice.
And he went, "No, I weren't." And I went, "Yeah, you were." And and you could see seriousness in my eyes, and like I weren't like timid towards him or anything, like I might have been back then. And I could see the change of emotion on his face, and he went, "Oh, well, I'm very sorry for that then." To shake my hand. I was like, and I went, "All right then." Sorted.
Nice.
I'm glad you're scared now. And the thing is, I remember what had happened. It was, I was in year 10 at school, which would be what, 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd had enough that day. I'd had enough. And do you know what was really bad? When I had maybe 2 friends at school at one point. And when I didn't have a class with at least one of those friends, it was torture for all the... I'm going to say bullies. I don't like that term because it sounds cringy, but like... It was torture with all the bullies, because like there would be at least 5 of them per class. Bearing in mind, in the whole school there might be 40, and I'm just talking lads at that point. Girls were also awful to us. The guys and girls were a bit more distant in high school, weren't they? They didn't mesh as much.
Don't say us. I was all right. I wasn't too bad.
No, I know you were all right. You lucky cunt. But anyway,
I'm just incredibly likable. Listen.
Bear in mind, in theory, Judy's way more bullyable than me, but it just didn't happen at all.
Oh yeah, I was playing fucking Warhammer and shit. I went to Dungeons and Dragons on
You were
Wednesday,
short,
stuff like
you
that.
were ginger, you were not athletic, you were much more fat than you are now as well.
I was openly bisexual.
Yeah, I was quite athletic, and like I know it sounds like I'm being cocky, and quite good looking for a teenager back then, and things like that. You know, I
did drama. I was like the lead role in all the drama stuff. Weirdly, all of the people that should have been cunts, whenever I did like a drama performance, they'd usually always say to me, "Oh, you were fucking sick in that when we had to go and see you all."
I know, it just basically wasn't fair. And I attribute that to, there was kind of a bit of a generation of flip-flopping, where bullying became very much not cool. I unfortunately missed that flip-flop, and bullying was cool. So basically, I'd had a full day of classes where one of my 2 friends weren't in any of them, and I was on my own to fend off like 5 like bullies at once, and all day for like 6 to 7 hours straight, or whatever it was, because it might have included detention. I'm not sure. I got in detention a lot as well, for stuff like throwing science chairs at people. These science chairs were kind of like they were kind of high stools, weren't they? They were wood seats, but the rest of it like a metal wood seat on top of a metal frame. And basically, what had happened was, this lad's group of mates had been fucking with me all day, and it was the last class of the day. And I sat in my usual seat, and they did their bully thing of, "Move out of you. You're not allowed to sit here because you're not cool enough," type of thing. And I was like, "Fuck off." And I think I probably said to him, "Oh, fuck off." And I remember, I don't know exactly what he did, but he fucked with me in some way. He might have like knocked my book off the desk, or like or like yanked my tie or something like that. And then like and then told the teacher that I weren't moving. And I just wanted to be left alone to just get through this last fucking hour of torture. And this annoyed me as well with teachers, where they didn't care about the nuances of what was going off. So she didn't care about the fact that she should have just said to the other guy, "Look, just shut up and sit down somewhere and let's get on with the class," right? You know, to just let things carry on and leave me alone. Instead, she was a massive, like, fucking Jobsworth for the rules, and we're like, "Oh, you have to move, or whatever." And at that point, I was just fucking done. So rather than giving him the chair, I fucking gave him the chair and picked it up and fucking threw it at him and just casually walked out of the class. And I wasn't like trying to hide from anyone or anything after that and not get in trouble. I literally just sat down on the floor right outside the door, and I was thinking, someone's gonna come for me and like, I'll be in trouble or whatever, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
But no one did. No one even bothered. But
Nice.
what did happen was when I got home, my mum was like, "Oh, you're all right then?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" Because school rung her and were like, "Oh, we don't really know where he is. We think he's gone home." Because they just not even bothered to try and look for me.
Just the fucking shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so that's the whole
shit.
thing that happened. But basically, I think it was funny that this lad, after ages, didn't realise how much of a knob was being. But the fact that I would not backed down, because I think a lot of people immediately would be like, it's all right.
Yeah. We were kids. It's fine. We were kids.
Yeah, and I was like,
younger.
no, you were being a cunt. And then you were like, I'm being sorry. And what was quite funny is, as well, one of his like lads that he was sat with came up to him like not long after he'd said that, and said something along the lines of, "Oh, you can't come back to table." And you're like, "Oh, why not?" And basically, because it sounded like someone were getting annoyed at him at table or whatever that he was sat at. And I went to him, "Oh, are you being a cunt again? Is someone going to throw a science chair at you?" So, yeah, I thought that was quite funny. But thing is, obviously, being the type of guy he was, he didn't understand the joke. So I said, I literally had to say to him, "I'm joking. It's all right. Don't worry." And you're like, "Oh, okay." So anyway, I thought that was a pretty funny story. Oh, sorry. I'll get through. Just say what goes on. Ghost Hunter said, it's to do with Brazil that it was on about. Depends where you are. Here is pretty all right for the most part. I think it is. I'd love to go to South America, to be honest. I'd love to visit it. Even the bad parts, the worst you will see is very poor people. Just don't go to huge cities. Those are a mess. Yeah, I can imagine. It's same with here as well. If you go to London and bad parts, just be destroyed. But even the bad parts of where we live they're not terrible. You can sort yourself out. The countryside is also lovely. Yeah, I can imagine. To be honest, I know it's not a very countryside bit of South America, and I know it's not Brazil, but I've got a hankering to go to Colombia at some point. But yeah.
Oh, I'd love to go to Colombia and have a bit of their finest.
Yeah, their finest Colombian cuisine. Am I right?
Yes, that was me. That was me sniffing.
I think that might be the only place I would ever like voluntarily, consciously smoke something. I think I would try a very small amount of Cuban cigar. A very authentic, because it's such a cultural thing there. Yeah, a very dumb cultural thing. Smoking is very dumb, isn't it, Judd?
Yeah. I only smoke the devil's lettuce, allegedly.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's the only place I would probably try a Cuban cigar, or maybe even just one puff of a Cuban cigar and go, right, I did that, it was shit. And then, move on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think
the fuck? Hold on, wait, Jake. I suppose this is fucking breaking news. What the fuck? This is at my local or outside, like one of my locals,
that means local pub for people who don't live in England or even Yorkshire. I think only Yorkshire just calls their local pub their local, because it's that common to talk about a pub that if in a lot of places their local might mean their local shop, but for us it's local pub.
Give that a watch. That's like a 5-minute walk from me. That's in my hood.
Do you want to give me a rundown of what's happening? Ghost is saying you can legally smooch on cocoa leaves here. Legally smooch on cocoa leaves.
Yeah,
I'm guessing they mean cocaine leaves.
Yeah, the cocoa leaves.
Yeah. What am I looking at here? Let's have a look.
You want to just have a little gander at that?
Let me just check I can actually show it on stream.
Oh, you can show it on stream.
I can't. It's not doing fucking playing. One sec. I need to see full screen, like. Yeah, we should be good. I need quick hands to do this.
You'll need.
I might have
you'll
just
need-
doxed someone, but whatever. Anyway, let's react to this. What's happened near Judd's house?
Have a watch of this.
There's like an army van kind of thing. No, a quad bike. Oh shit! Yeah, I know where this is. This is close. It's like this weird kind of quad bike tractor thing with like a crate on the back of it is run into a sign right outside a pub.
And they're back into the pub.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, they backed into the pub. I'm guessing that was like a beer delivery.
No.
No.
That's
These look like
that's
thugs.
yeah. This is like I think it's like manure. You know, I think it's like horse shit or something. Like
Oh
they've just
my
dumped a load of
God.
horse shit in this fucking pub.
That's crazy. That's insane.
That happened like that's essentially outside my house, really.
Wow.
It's like probably about a 5 or 10 minute walk from my house.
Speaking
That's
of
bizarre.
crazy stuff that's happened near us, this has been a long podcast, but I just want to mention it quick. We probably won't have to talk about it much. Did you see that video of the bloke with a crossbow near where we live?
Oh my fucking god! You know that was like a mate of a mate who filmed it. Who was like
of
recording
course
it.
you know the bloke. That sounds
was
like
the-
I think you're lying, but I don't think you're lying. I mean,
No,
literally, of course
so-
you know him.
So the guy who I go into work with, the lad who I go into work with, Billy, I was telling him about it, and he said, "Yeah, I know about it. With my mate that fucking recorded it." So
Ghost
yeah.
says that's the most English hooligan thing I've ever seen. With the horsemen you were dropped into a pub. They're not right.
And that's like 5. That's essentially on my fucking street. That's
Well,
bizarre.
it's a little bit further, but
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, but
You don't want to
yeah,
dox yourself, Judd, but like,
Yeah.
But anyway, so like, yeah, there was this bloke with a crossbow, and he looked mental. He looked on drugs. And what I found hilarious is most people would video it from afar and zoom in or whatever. And he was kind of harmless. He was just kind of pointing it round a bit, and it was loaded. He had one
yeah, it was a
arrow
loaded
in it.
crossbow.
But in the town centre of near where we live, the guy who was filming it went up to him right in his face with his phone and went, "What are you doing? You've got a crossbow."
He ran up to him and went, "What are you doing?"
And he turned round. This guy on the crossbow turns round and went, "Ah!" and like kind of pointing at him, obviously on his face.
He points his crossbow at this lad, and this lad ducks down and goes, "Whoa, you're wired, you cunt."
He did. That's what he did. He went, "Whoa, you're finished, aren't you, mate?"
Yeah.
With your bloody
He's going,
crossbow.
"Whoa, what are you doing?" And then there's a bit where like he's got this crossbow and he's walking around. I think he was on acid because he was seeing stuff and he was speaking his own language. He was speaking the fucking Sims talk that Sims speak on. So-
Oh, he got a license for that crossbow.
yeah. he was speaking. The boy was speaking in tongues and he was seeing stuff. So I think he were on acid. But
Yeah, you were on something, weren't you? But
there a bit where he like throws this crossbow down and he's sort of like walking off. He's like running his hand through his hair, and there was some coppers that were nearby, and they're sort of like walking off her.
they were armed
when he's
police,
dropped
but
it.
bear in mind, armed police in England is not the same as most countries, especially not the same as America. They're armed with maybe tasers, maybe bats. I don't think they had guns.
No, those ones weren't. Well, maybe, but they didn't have any guns because the armed response unit showed up later when it had actually all been sorted out.
I'm pretty sure they only had tasers at most.
Yeah, so
have been
essentially
that fault.
these two coppers are running off her, and he's had this thing thrown down, and this lad recording it goes, he's dropped it, and they sort of like run off her to sort of stop him, and then he quickly runs back to the crossbow and picks it back up and aims at him.
I don't think he were going to shoot it at him, but they go, "Oh shit!" And the thing is, as they were running back to it, there's this bloke, like essentially in the middle of these police and this guy who's probably a bit drunk himself, filming with his phone. He goes, "Oh no, he's picked it up again." And he's just like commentating me like, "Oh, he's dropped it. Oh no, he's picked it up again."
It'd be perfect to sort of at war journalism because he just fucking go up to people like during the shooting, going, "What are you doing?" like, well, we're in the middle of a firefight in fucking on the Gaza Strip, and he's like, "What are you doing that for?"
Yeah, it was a really funny video that should not have been funny at all.
Yeah.
It was all due to this one bloke who did not care. We're just like,
didn't give
"What are you
fuck, did
doing?" Anyway,
No.
speaking of what you're doing, what we're doing is ending this podcast. We will continue to stream though at twitch.tv/streamsbadly. We always do like an after pod podcast stream, so don't worry about that. But the podcast is ending. Thanks for listening. It's been a long one. There's plenty to tell you. We've been, you know what? We've been on fire with podcasts lately, you know, Judd. At least this one and the last one have been pretty good.
Yeah, they've been quite long ones, haven't they?
Maybe the one before that. Yeah, there's some pretty good podcasts. If you want to listen to them, go back. You know, they're on Spotify, they're on whatever. Listen to them. You know, most of them they're all shit. Because everything's shit, as the mantra of this is. Everything's badly, but like, you know, some good shit. Anyway, bye.